Hello and welcome, Inspired Podcast community. This is your new episode. My name is Caroline, and my today's guest is PK. And I'm so happy that he's here, my guest, and he said yes to the invitation. Hello, PK.
Hello, thank you for welcoming me into your show. I'm very, very happy to be here. It's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting.
Wow. So let's call yourself an underdog and you try to make a major breakthrough. You give voice to the ones who can't narrate their struggles. So you've been broke and helpless, and you want to let people know how you try to deal with adversities so that they don't feel the way you did. Can you tell
Yeah,
us a little bit more about your story?
sure. So I come from a very conservative Indian family. You know how Indians are basically. Say they blame you for mistakes that you have not committed yet. So currently, I work as a full-time designer along with, working on my side hustle, and this includes going on YouTube, freelancing, and doing my podcast, which focuses on narrating a story of for the which focuses on the underdogs. Okay, and it acts as a voice for the unspoken. And I'm not a guy who is at the highest of highs yet, and I believe that you don't have to be there in order to narrate your story, uh, because you're always in a process of learning something, and I believe I am as well. And I'm in a journey of sharing what I'm learning, and in the hopes that it might help, it might inspire the fellow listeners or whoever is following me. So I'm currently in my pursuit of doing a major breakthrough.
Wow, this is really inspiring what you told. And my first question is, what inspires you?
Put it very simply, being broke. I'll explain. So
Yes.
my family, they don't believe in giving you pocket money. Okay. I hope you're aware of this Maslow's model of hierarchy, which has all these slabs of you having this basic needs met, which are the physiological needs, then psychological needs, safety needs, all those things. So my father solely believes on providing those physiological needs to you. He believes that if you have food, shelter, and clothing with you, rest is on you. And he gave this teaching to us very early in our lives. It was like anything and everything that comes above that, it's on you, and you have to provide that to yourself.
Mhm.
And having nothing in my hand, I felt very helpless at the time. I had to think for every step that I take so that I don't mess it up. And just because I don't have that financial share safety and security with me, and but on the bright side, it was great. I did not bear that risk of being a failure, being called out as a failure, because I was already a failure that at that moment. I did not have anything to begin with, so it was a pretty win situation for me, but at the same time it was very risky, because if you think you don't have anything to begin with, then you always feel helpless. But primarily because I had nothing to sustain on, I pushed myself to work on things to teach myself you know, um, multiple things that can potentially help me in my career. And in that journey, uh, you know how this thing goes. You get to hear a thing multiple times, and in your subconscious mind, it perceives like it's the truth for your life, right?
Yes.
And my father has in a way has had his way on us, uh, that he always used to tell us you should always be grateful for what you have. So
Yes.
throughout my life I have always been hearing this from him, that you have food in your stomach, you
Mhm.
have clothes on your body, you have a shelter, you have a roof over your head, and you are mostly above than the millions who don't have all this in their lives yet. So you're already ahead, far ahead than all those people. And if you're grateful for what you have right now, you'll definitely start to, give respect to what you can do or what you will achieve in the future. So thinking about those people, I felt like I should do something. I felt responsible. So that's what inspired me the
Mhm.
most.
Okay, I understand. And when my next question is who inspires you, you would definitely say your father, right?
Yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer right now. But yeah, there are multiple people aside my father who have inspired me, because father has inspired me in my life to take decisions, to take control. But apart from that, in my to inspire me to pursue a certain skill level and to be healthy mentally, I'll give this to two people. I'm a designer myself. I give my excellency, or the way I have succeeded in my career, to Chris Do. If you have heard of him, is very great at you know being an introvert who has a mission to teach a billion people. And I believe I'm a student myself, so I try to learn as many things as possible from him. Being in the same niche as him, I try to incorporate his teachings into my life. So he will be the second, and third will be Gary Vaynerchuk, who talks a lot about being positive, focusing on your mental health, not giving a beep to what people say about you. So yeah, I'll give to these three people.
Wow, I love that you mentioned Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V. We know him, and I already requested him for being in one of my next podcast episodes.
Oh,
Yeah, when I asked people and you said, who can I invite? Do you have an idea or a wish? And I love that. These are visions, and these are people we can learn from. They are very inspiring. Thank you so much. And you mentioned Christo as well. I remember the beautiful settings. I don't know. Yeah, it is art. It is like a setup because it was so big. Big projects in Berlin and it's Italy and New York. I remember those three projects, but he has others as well. And I cannot ask him because he already passed away, right? I think so.
no, no,
Or I
no.
have to look it up. Otherwise, I could invite him to be in this inspired podcast as well. Thank you for the inspiration. Okay, my next question is how do you inspire other people?
So I don't believe like I'm an inspirational person yet, because I'm not that big of a person, but I try to be. I try to inspire people by taking ownership and pride in every achievement and every experience that I have gone through. No learning is small, in my opinion. So there's always a potential of growth
Mhm.
in every instance. You don't need to be successful to portray your story. That's what my motto is for my podcast that I host. Because every being that is called successful is very subjective. Because according to my belief, being successful is a feeling. A person who owns a Ferrari can be called successful, and so is the other person who owns Toyota can also call himself or herself successful. It's all about that mental stigma in their brains, uh, because being successful is being content and being happy with what you are doing currently. If you're satisfied, if you want to pursue something and you have achieved that, then I believe you're successful.
Yes, absolutely. As
Yeah,
success is the constant realization of a worthy ideal. That means if you take one step today, then you are successful because you worked towards your goal, or to talk in attitudes to work from your goal, to see yourself already in possession. And then you act as the person who already achieved everything. I love that so
yeah.
much. The topic as well. Okay, what are your gifts and talents?
I believe I was not born with any gifts or talents. I was kind of an underdog. I did not have any sort of skills to begin with. I believe that's what it is with every humans, and some kind of discover their potential at an early age, or maybe at a certain point of time in their lives. But for me, it was never uh, that stage never came into being. I always dabbled into multiple stuff. I never was good at something, but one thing I was good at, which I later found out, was being creative.
Wow.
It was very late in my career that I realized that I should follow a path which leads my creativity into action. Earlier I used to pursue uh, being an engineer, a software engineer, and that did not work out pretty nicely for me. So I changed my careers to being a designer, and I think that worked pretty nicely because in my early childhood, I always had this knack for drawing, arts, thinking out of the box, solving puzzles, and all those things. And that that's mindset and that interest kind of made me switch my careers into design. And I think, yeah, that's what I'd say my biggest strength is, because I can't learn fast. I don't remember things. I even forget people's faces. I don't remember. I'm not good with names. I'm not good with relations. I'm bad at almost everything apart from that. So you can say being a designer and being creative.
Wow, I love that. You are creative, you are a designer. And what are your goals for 2024?
Oof, that's a big one. 2024 is a tough one. 2023 did not have many big wins for me, so I was kind of skeptical to formulate that list of resolutions for 2024, because every time I have a list, I fail at it. It's quite the contrary, because people have a list and they work on it and this succeed on that. But for me, it has never worked. So I believe in the power of manifestation. So how I work it out in my life is that I believe on something very strongly. If I have that in my mind and I put efforts without thinking much about it, without thinking that I'm doing XYZ for attaining ABC, then I'm good at it. But if I'm continuously thinking about achieving certain thing, and that is why I'm putting my effort into it, then at a certain point of time I stop doing it completely. So that consistency does not work out with me if I have that mental approach towards things. So yeah, if I manifest something in my mind and I subconsciously keep on putting efforts, then I believe I get that easily rather than having a resolution. So I believe it's against the stigma that people have, but that is what is working for me. That has been working out for me, and I think it will work out for 2024 as well. If I talk about substantial things, what I want to achieve, yeah, I want my message to reach as many people as possible. I want to have a wider audience. I want my career to thrive. I want more clients and freelancing, all those stuff which people want basically to upgrade the careers. And in professional life, I want in personal life, I want thriving relationship. I want my family to be happy. I want a good relation between me and my family and my friends. So yeah, very basic things that I want in my life, and I just want to be happy. That's it.
Wow, that sounds great. Thank you so much for sharing. And when people reach out to you after listening to this podcast episode, how can they help you with? What can they help you with?
If they reach me out, they can help me with being a guest in my podcast, I believe, because I have so less knowledge. I believe I have yet a lot to learn, and they can join me in the journey to teach me along with my audience a huge load of things which are not heard by them yet.
Oh, I love that. Okay. And then my last question now is people will also reach out to you to get some services from
Yep.
you. And do you have a special offer for the Inspired podcast community?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So I believe multiple services. I particularly in design. I give brand identity services. I give UI UX services. I give ad campaign services, social media services. So anyone from the inspired podcast community reaches me out, I'll give 20 to 30% off on everything. No questions asked.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm speechless now, and this is so generous of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I think, you know what I think? I think you have a last message to our audience.
Yeah, I definitely do. Uh, for everyone listening to this podcast, I have this thing. I believe through my very heart that if you are believing in something, if you have a knack for something and you truly want to succeed in that, do not stop putting efforts in that. Be consistent. I know it will be hard in the current time. You won't get results soon. It's not that if you're doing something for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, however long that may be in your dictionary, you don't get results, you could quit soon. Maybe at some point, if you have that severe gut feeling that you should quit, go for it. Change careers, do something else, take a break, whatever works for you. But until and unless you feel like you have not given your all, be at it.
Wow.
And I assure you, if you are at it for a substantial amount of time, you will get there eventually and you'll achieve the success that you really want in your life.
Oh, thank you so much. So the key word in that was believe, and believe
Yeah,
in yourself and your dreams.
yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much. This was a great word or sentence to finish our episode with. And please re-listen to this podcast. It has so many nuggets in there to learn. Thank you so much, PK, for saying yes and being my guest.
It's a pleasure to be with you. It's an honor for me to appear on a podcast episode. I have always hosted podcasts, but I have never been in one. I'm being very vulnerable over here, and it's very nice. It was a great experience with you.
Wow, you're amazing. Thank you so much. And see you in the next episode.